First order of business today is we do have an executive session item that we need to take care of, so I need a motion to go into executive session for the purpose of discussing appeals, legal, and personnel matters.
So moved.
I have a first. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Ms. Kennemore. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we are convened to executive session. We'll be back momentarily.
Hey, Lynn, you want to get your prints and copy out? So you don't have to let it.
Welcome to the audio conferencing center. Please Sorry, I can't find a meeting with that number. Try entering your conference. After the tone, please record your name and then press pound. You're now joining the meeting.
Are we on? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear us, Butch?
It would be great if you guys could speak up.
Just do it in little
Did the ceremony, they drove off.
That's it. Easy enough. Is that down in the
Yeah, I think it was down somewhere.
That's a good thing.
Drive through.
That night.
So we're actually. Okay, so at the very end, so. Oh, yeah, I've got time.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of have kicking your routine when the circumstances.
Just north of Scylla, in the Surrey Woods, there is a
Good printer, I showed up that I did Boy Scouts.
named after a great
He's not a rep anymore. Yeah, he's I know some
Ain't that many people in Visitor.
Sorry.
These belong to you, Jonathan and Trevor.
Right?
And I didn't take a deep breath.
Everybody write it down.
How can we get back down there?
He's got it.
No, it won't. They made me write it down.
Mike Long. That's the close.
Is now exiting.
Hey, Hawkins.
I go to UGA, that's in my markets.
You paint?
Somebody drive. It's not just a, it's really a try. I want to get down there.
Hey, Minneapolis City Council voted to cut more millions out of the police budget.
Mike, can you put your phone on mute?
Is he still, talking about that, over and over?
Butch and or Mike, if you could, please put your phones on mute. Thank you. All right, everybody, welcome back. At this time, the chair will entertain a motion to adjourn from executive session. First from Mr. Downey. Is there a second? The second from Mr.
A lot of you haven't got to know me that much, but I love quotes. I have them on my desk. I have them on my phone. I have them everywhere. So someone asked me last night what would be my quote for right now for the coronavirus. So Jimmy Dean actually has a quote that I love. So I'll start with that and say, I can't change the direction of the wind, but I can adjust my sails to get to my destination. So I think that's how we have to do right now. We're having to adjust our sails every single day to get to where we're going. I think we're going to get there. It's just taking us a little while, but just keep adjusting your sails, work on your jib there, and just keep your sails going. This too shall pass. This is not the worst thing that's happened to us in our lifetime. It just feels like it at the moment because it's what's there. But if we have faith in each other, we're going to be okay. So if you will bow your heads with me, say a prayer. Dear Father, thank you for this beautiful and wonderful day that you've given to us. When we woke this morning, we woke with the knowledge that this is the last promised day that you've given us at this point. So please guide us to do your will and to be present in this day. May our intentions and decisions be made for students, parents, teachers, administrators, and the Georgia Department of Education staff with compassion, honesty, non-bias, and truth. Please protect our military here and around the world. Put your arms around their family and hold them close. Watch over our first responders, our firemen, our policemen, our EMTs, our medical personnel, all the people who work in our hospitals, our senior care facilities. Watch over them and keep them safe and healthy each day. Guide and protect us. Give us courage each day. Give us the courage to face adversity, grace to handle pressure, and allow us forgiveness to others, whether they seek it or not. May your love surround us, and when we leave here today, give everyone safe travels back home. Grant us peace as we serve to your will. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. And if you would stand for the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we have some special guests here today, and I'd like to recognize those individuals. First, Donovan Head with the Governor's Office of Student Achievement. He's the Deputy Director there. Thank you, Donovan, for being here today. Trevor Carson. Hello. Hello, Trevor. Trevor is the Deputy Director with the Governor's Office of Student he's the Innovative Program Specialist with the Governor's Office of Student Achievement. We have Jonathan Wesley Martin. Jonathan, thank you for being here. 2017 Governor's Honors Program alum, also with UGA. Ricky Palmer. Ricky?
He's on the phone.
Okay. We look forward to having him come back. He's the GHP Program Manager, Governor's Honors Program. Michael Hunke, all right, Marietta City Schools. Michael O'Sullivan with Georgia Can. Thank you, Michael, for being here. And Richard Smith, who's the First District RESA. Thank you all for joining us here today. And we also have another special guest, and if you'll permit me, I'm going to step up to the podium here. Want to make a special recognition for a board member that served us with distinction. Sadly too short, but she's here today. Her name is Sally Lynn Neighbors. Sally Lynn Neighbors was appointed by Governor Kemp in January 2020. You get to take yours home.
Yay. Well, thank y'all. I know it was short, and y'all accepted me and welcomed me with open arms, and I give everybody air hugs during this time. I'm gonna miss y'all, but I do take care of my 89-year-old mother. She lived with me for the first 5 months that I was doing this, and we put her in a home, but so it was short. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I know the future of these kids is in great hands.
There's also a card up there for her. Card.
Oh, there you go. You have this
Okay.
card.
All right. Thank y'all.
Terrific. Lynn, thank you. I'm going to give you the fist bump here. All right. Thank you so much for your
Thank
service.
you.
Of course.
Take the mask off.
I'll do one without. All right. Thank you, Lynn. This is a sleeve for that. All right. Good luck and everything too. Thanks so much. Please.
An escalator and you're falling?
Nice gesture.
I was able to get back there.
Okay, we're going to continue here, and then we are now convened as a committee of the whole. And with this, I'm going to turn this over to Budget Committee Chairman, Mr. Downey, Jason Downey, and to lead us through the Budget Committee items that we discussed during our committee meetings yesterday.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, we had 30 items on the budget agenda, and 1 through 10, and then 12 through 30 are all on the consent agenda. We are pulling item 11 for a special vote, a separate vote, which deals with an issue that still is under the auspices of executive session, so we cannot fully disclose all the information within it, but we will be voting on that separately.
Terrific. Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Downey relative to the Budget Committee items? All right, so Debbie, for agenda planning purposes, we have all items but number 11 moving to the consent agenda, and number 11 pulled for a separate vote. Butch, are you ready to go, or is Fenna going for you for Rules Committee? All right, Fenna, go ahead and take over.
For the Rules Committee, there were 3 items. They were all moved to the consent agenda.
Debbie, you have that? To the best of my knowledge, we have no state school committee items. Mr. Long, do you have anything for state school committee? Mr.
I do
Long?
not at this time, other than, can y'all hear me?
Yes.
I said, I do not at this time. Thank you.
And Mike, I know you weren't able to join us yesterday, but we did have a wonderful presentation by Dr. Moore yesterday for the State Schools Committee. All right? All right, items for information. All right, Ms. Skinnemore.
I make a motion to move the following to the consent agenda: the December personnel report, individual student waivers, minutes of the November 19th, 2020 State Board meeting, minutes of the November 18th, 2020 executive session meeting, and the December legal report.
Terrific. Ms. Caputo, do you have those items? All right. All right, we'll take a brief recess here.
We need a second, Matt.
I'm sorry, she made the motion, correct?
I'll second that.
You have a second from Mr. Downey. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. And then, Debbie, do you need a few minutes to put together a printed agenda?
I do not.
Okay. All right. With that, other business items. All right, we are going then to move to the consent agenda. I need an approval of the agenda
Thank you.
being distributed.
So moved.
Second.
Be in order.
All right, everybody has a copy of the agenda. And then for those that are online, I think you've heard, do you have any questions about the agenda as it's being presented? Debbie distributed hard copies to everybody. And just to reiterate, from the committee meetings yesterday, all of the items with the, from Budget Committee, all of the items with the exception of number 11 were moved to consent. 11 is being pulled for a separate vote. For Rules Committee, all three items under Rules Committee are moving to the consent agenda. And then Ms. Kennemore identified those items for executive session, personnel, and other matters as well. Does anybody on the line have any questions relative to the agenda? Okay. Hearing none. All right, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda. Okay, Mr. Allen, is there a second? All right, we have Mr. Downey as a second. Any discussion, any questions?
I'm not sure.
There being none, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, for those online, can you cast your vote and let us know?
Aye, Mike Long.
Aye.
Thank you, Leanne. Butch, are you with us online? Dr. Mosley?
Aye.
Thank you. So the agenda is approved, it's unanimous. The chair will now entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda. I have a first from Mr. Johnson. I have a second from Ms. Petty. Any questions or comments?
You've been muted. To unmute yourself, press *6.
Take it personally.
We've been wanting to do that a long time.
All right, so with the consent agenda, I have a first, I have a second. Is there any comments or questions? All right, please cast your vote. Yeah, we're just doing voice votes today.
I was gonna say, all right. Aye.
Any opposed? All right, I got to go through the members online. Dr. Mosley, Mr. Long, and Leanne, can you cast your vote, please, and let us know? Mr. Long?
Who's my acclamation?
Chairman, we need more volume.
I didn't hear what he said.
You lost
I
volume.
heard you, Mike.
All right. Mike, can you cast your
Yeah,
vote?
I can't hear anything either.
Can you cast your vote for the approval of the consent agenda?
I think when it said you've been muted, I think,
they've been muted from
yeah, they can't hear us.
From a technology standpoint, the people are saying they can't hear us.
You are no longer muted.
Butch, can you hear me, or Mike Long, or Leanne?
Yes, I can hear you now.
All right, thank you. We need you to cast your vote for the approval of the consent agenda.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
All right. That carries.
Yes.
That carries. It's unanimous. Now the chair will entertain a motion to approve.
David Mosley.
Is now exiting.
The chair will now entertain a motion under the Rules Committee to approve FBO contract voluntary lead testing in school and child care program drinking water. I have a first from Mr. Downey. Is there a second? I have a second from Mr. Mason. Is there any questions, comments, or discussion? Hearing none, the chair calls for a vote. All those in favor of the motion to approve the contract voluntary lead testing in schools and child care program drinking water grant? All those in favor say yay.
Aye. Yay.
Yay.
Any opposed? Okay, Mike Long, if you're online, your vote is what?
Yes.
Leanne? Leanne, are you still online? Dr. Mosley, are you on the line? Debbie, Butch and Leanne are not on the line right now, so vote is unanimous for item number 11. All right. That can, now we okay. So that concludes the action items for the day. And then with that, we're going to go ahead and we're going to turn that over now to the superintendent's report.
Ms. Taylor, you could, we'll have presentation.
Good morning.
Morning. Morning.
I'll talk over a little of the
If you're
noise.
online, if you could please mute your phone. If you're online, please mute your phone. Thank you. There you go.
Oh, there we go. Okay, so I know last month when we met, we talked about district flexibility, contracts, and provided some context there. And this month, we'll provide some information on our charter schools program. So Georgia's first charter law, in terms of a little bit of history, was passed in 1993. It allowed for the creation of conversion charter schools, which were traditional schools that converted to charter school status. The first three conversion charter schools were approved in 1995. Then in 98, the charter school law was expanded, allowing for both locally approved charter schools, which is a charter school that did not exist as a traditional school prior to becoming conversion schools, and then state special chartered schools, which was schools which were created pursuant to law but had sort of direct contracts with the state as part of the Constitution. Started a charter school that opened in Savannah-Chatham County School System and is still operating today. In 2001, the first two state chartered special schools opened. You had Charter Conservatory for Liberal Arts and Technology, which is now known as Statesboro STEM Academy, and Odyssey School, which added Georgia's first virtual school, which is the Georgia Cyber Academy, as a program in 2007. Then, as well in 2007, the Georgia College and Career Academy Network started as charter schools. And in 2008, the charter law was changed to establish the Georgia Charter Schools Commission, with the first commission schools opening in 2009. In 2011, the Supreme Court ruled the commission law to be unconstitutional. And in 2012, a constitutional amendment was approved by Georgia voters to allow for a new state charter schools commission. In 2013, the commission was established. And so we have two separate types of charter schools in terms of how they are chartered. Your locally approved charter schools are charter schools whereby they have a charter contract with the local board of education, the charter school, and the state board of education. It's a three-party contract. And then you have the what we call state charter schools, which are charter schools that are authorized by the State Charter Commission, and that contract is directly between the Charter Commission and the state charter school, usually oftentimes with statewide jurisdiction. And in those cases, usually the State Board of Education provides either an affirmation or overruling of the decision of the commission as to whether or not to approve those schools. So as I mentioned, just now, in terms of the two different types of schools, we have right now 77 locally approved charter schools. That includes your conversion schools, which are 7 of them. You've got your college and career academies, and then your locally approved startup charter schools. And then again, as I said, your state charter schools, which include your contract between the state and the charter school. As I mentioned, the board either overrules or affirms the decision of the commission on those. And we have 39 of those. Each of our state charter schools, as I mentioned, many of them have statewide jurisdiction, but they are each, whether they have statewide jurisdiction or not, are treated as a local education agency. So they're treated like our school districts in terms of operations and supports provided. So in terms of how is a charter school approved? So I'll start at the top as we talk about like locally approved charter schools. The petitioner makes a petition to the local board of education to start a charter school in that district. And if that petition is approved by the local board of education, then that petition gets submitted to the department where we go through a process of reviews and interviews, and a recommendation is made to the state board on approval of petition. If the state board approves that petition, that school becomes a startup charter school, a locally approved startup charter school. As I mentioned, that contract then becomes between the local board of education, the charter school, and the state board of education. If the local board of education does not approve a contract for a petition for a local charter school, that contract either ends or the petitioner at this point can make a request to the commission for a defined attendance zone as a state charter school. In terms of state charter schools, for state charter schools, a petitioner that is planning to do a statewide attendance zone can petition directly to the commission for a charter contract to start a school, or, as I mentioned earlier, a petitioner that was denied by the local board of education can petition the commission for a state charter school with a defined attendance zone. The commission reviews and acts on those petitions and makes a decision. If that petition is approved, then those decisions come to the State Board of Education, who either overrules or affirms that decision. For context, usually as we did yesterday, we bring those decisions of the commission before the board, but there is a provision whereby if the board does not make an action or take action on that by either overruling or affirming by 60 days, then the assumption is that the board affirms the decision of this commission.
So who is currently over Godot's review of charter schools?
So our review of charter school process it falls under my office, and the director is Mr. Alan Mueller. In terms of the reviewer, he's the director of charter schools. He's been the director of charter schools for a few years now, and he provides the oversight of that particular division. But in terms of petitions, as we review petitions, we'll go through the process or share the process of how we review petitions. But that process is that we review them make sure that it meets the legal requirements and that it meets the requirements outlined in law and in policy for how that should be reviewed. And then what we have now changed into doing, which had not previously been done, is including now the CAC into the review process, the Charter Advisory Committee, into the review process, so that they are also now meeting their legal requirements of reviewing charter school petitions. Previously, those interviews, when we did the interviews, we included interviews to make sure that we at least had an external sort of charter expert that weighed in and were on those interviews and provided some evaluation supports. And now we're making that process more formal through the CAC.
I was speaking more about the head. So when Lou Erstes was removed, has anyone stepped into that position, or is that position no longer there?
So the struggle we had with that position where we had sort of essentially two persons that were serving the same role. And so what we have right now is the director is filling sort of that position that Lou Erstes filled.
So when Lou was removed, nobody has stepped into his role?
Right, because we have two people serving the same role. So that role is now filled by one person instead of two.
Okay. Two people serving the same role, two people doing the same job.
Right, the same job. The job descriptions were the exact same. So in terms of the roles and responsibilities, authorized roles and responsibilities, for each of these, you have, I outlined them for the local district authorizers, the State Board of Education, and the State Charter School Commission. So as you can see, they all review each of them. The district authorizer, the board, and the commission review and act on charter school applications or petitions that come in, provide the department and the state board provide technical assistance to district authorizers, really as part of our three-party contract and as part of board policy. We provide technical assistance to new and renewing charter school applicants, but a lot of our work is around working with the local district authorizers to ensure that they are providing the supports and structures necessary to support their local charter schools. Again, each of us provide technical assistance to new and renewing charter applicants. The approval of local charter schools happens with the local district and the state board. Approval of state charters is with the State Charter Commission. They do the approvals. And again, the board either affirms or overrules. But it's the decision of the commission. Then you have the technical assistance that's on there twice, so sorry about that. Developing and implementing a plan and policy for the programs. Management of federal and state charter school grants actually occur with the local charter schools for the local districts for their charter schools, but then the Department of Education manages federal grants for all charter schools, both state and local. And then annual reports to the state board and to the General Assembly. So in terms of history of charter schools, as we talk about the numbers, you can see right now we've got 116 charter schools total. I gave you the numbers on the other side. You had 77 that were local and 39 that are state commission charter schools. You can see some of the fluctuations in the numbers as you have things like, as I mentioned in the history, the changes in, in law or in policies as, a result of sort of higher numbers of approvals or higher numbers of closures or removals.
What is our process now for resolving any disputes between, a dispute between a local charter and a district? How's that process?
So it depends on what the dispute is. Depending on the dispute, usually what the process is there is a contact between whoever the aggrieved party is and either Mr. Alan Mueller or myself will listen to the dispute. If it's an area that we can provide mediation, then we work to provide mediation between the district and the school. There are oftentimes, because it is a three-party contract, if it ends up being a situation of an interpretation of law, because we do not interpret law for schools or districts, then sometimes it is a situation where it is that we refer them both to their legal counsel.
I'll follow up with that. Sort of piggybacking on what Mike was saying, do you find that when there are disagreements between charters and the local school district, it has to do with money and how the QB funds are allotted? Because it's very interesting. It is very open-ended, really, the way it's.
Instances where you could probably argue that occurs. In a number of the fluctuations, even that you see on the graph, you'll see, for instance, even within the last 5 years, we've had a lot of, charter schools that did not renew, and a lot of those renewals are actually due to the fact that we as a state provided more flexibility to our districts. And in providing more flexibility to our districts, if I can maintain sort of that similar level or same level of flexibility without having to necessarily go it on my own or have to deal with the hassle or fight with the districts that sometimes happens, then it makes better sense for me to be able to get that same flexibility while also working and getting the same sort of additional resources and supports from the districts.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And also, while we're on that and talking about disputes, to our new board members, these contracts are three-party contracts. The State Board of Education is a member to that contract. Every one of these contracts is signed by the chairman of the State Board of Education. So we are a party to it. It's between, and that I think is very important for everybody to understand.
Similarly, this graph highlights charter school enrollment. Again, a lot like the previous graphs. And then your state charter school contracts and accountability systems are developed, implemented, and approved by the commission. Again, to Mr. Royal's point, it highlights the difference between a three-party contract versus the direct two-party contract. Again, both performance frameworks include, measures for academic performance, financial performance, governance, since they all have your standalone governing bodies that make the decisions for the schools. Legal compliance are compliance measures, and then our performance framework for local charter schools includes a school climate performance review, and state charter schools has sort of separate additional operation performance. And then, you can see the different areas highlighted, but a lot of it deals around CCRPI and looking at CCRPI scores and comparisons between the schools and the state, or the schools and the district schools that those students would have been zoned to, as well as then, additional looks and measures for either value added impact or beating the odds. So what maybe a comparison to schools that look similar to the school that they're in. Yes.
The school climate performance, the locally approved charters. I mean, that metrics is also built with the student health survey. Is that correct?
The student health survey, is usually a part of that performance. The school climate performance is really about your climate rating, and usually the student health survey feeds into that. Yes.
Feeds into that. So what I did not know is state charters. That's not a part of their accountability index. Does that also mean that they do not have access to the student survey, and they don't calculate climate?
No, climate still gets calculated. It's just not a part of their contracted accountability measure.
Okay. So
Yes.
still calculated all this. Okay.
Yes. So yes, it's still calculated. You can still get information on, but within their contract,
Yes.
this is what they are reviewed on within their contract.
Well, a lot of them were, I remember, I think it was called the Comprehensive Performance Framework.
Yeah.
Are we still using that or not?
The performance framework? Yes, that's what's used in there within the contracts.
So that's,
It's part of that.
yeah. I thought we were not using that. I may be wrong, I'm sorry.
So for additionally, just to highlight and, point out, at least for the last few years, the performance just from CCRPI obviously does not tell the whole picture. I think, in terms of context, as we look at both the locally approved charters and your state charters, context matters. So for instance, even with your state charters, you've got, a number of virtual schools with large large populations. You also have, a number of alternative schools that feed into that as well. But overall, you can see the performance of the two different groups. And that's your general overview there.
Anybody have any questions for Superintendent? Okay. Thank you. Mike, you had a question?
I was just gonna, a comment after Tiffany's presentation. Again, it was good, and I think that was informative for our new members, and we even had some old members asking some questions. But Scott, I was just gonna follow up on our conversations from yesterday and last night, because we have been talking a lot about this in our charter committee, and I was doing some totaling over 1.7 million, over 1.75 million of our, we only have 2 LEAs that aren't. But I just wanted to mention, and we're simply because some folks have been asking, and it's been pointed, I wanted to let folks know that, and tell you thank you, because I appreciate your time last evening. Chairman Sweeney and I had a very long conversation about charter and flexibility, and it was it's very apparent and to him and to me that the importance of this. And we've been talking about the changes this year in Charter and Flexibility Committee and what we have been doing and haven't been doing. I just wanted to I mean, because I think it's an example of good governance too, and how boards should work. That when you do have a disagreement, our disagreements weren't on importance; it was on process. And we hashed a lot of that out, I think, last noon, and we came to an agreement to work together on what a charter committee will look like, and to move forward with that. He asked me to get some additional information to him on what we were doing and how it worked, and what my vision for it is. And I just want to say publicly thank you for having that conversation, and we had that last night. And we're going to be working together and help for this board so that we can give charter, because we want the same thing. We want to give it the additional transparency and have the collaboration among our charter partners that they need. And I just wanted to say thank you for that, and I'll be getting that information to you. But I just also wanted to just even clear some air, because it was, I mean, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to see that there was tension among that. And the tension wasn't on importance, it was on process. And we've been working together, and we'll be coming up with some more information forward. So.
Thank you very much, Mr. Royal.
Quick comment, Mr. Chairman. I just feel strongly about looking at the history of where we've been with flexibility, that is a strength of Georgia in comparison to a lot of states. Is the fact that we've gone from educating ourselves and the state of what a charter school, a charter district is, and have a environment of flexibility is something we don't need to lose. One thing that I hope that this conversation produces is that space for the continued innovation and flexibility of those charters to get better, to inform each other and inform other schools that aren't charters of those innovations. How we do that, how we continue to have that space so we can learn is important moving forward, but it is critical now. There's never been a year like this of instructional shifts. If those schools, and we've given them the flexibility, the state has the flexibility to do that, they are learning right now. Somehow, I think it's urgent, second semester. We need to be able to give them some voice, and I know from what I heard from Tiffany is there is some communication, but I just wanted to highlight my desire to be involved in whatever process that we can create to allow that space and to really understand what's happening, what they've learned in this year, and how they're going to adjust their frameworks, their ideas, their instructional plans, their successes for their communities moving forward. I mean, it's I know they've been through a tough time, but it could be a gold mine of information from them and our state moving forward.
All right, appreciate your feedback, Mr. Downey.
And I wanted to comment, and it actually ties with the conversation we've been having about charter schools. I wanted to recognize one of the schools in Georgia that was awarded the National Blue Ribbon is the Academy for Classical Education, which is in Macon, and I know that school very well because it was actually a Bibb County approved charter school, and I was on the Bibb County Board of Education when we approved that. The charter expired, and they became a state charter school, I think 2 years ago, and I know a lot of the faculty there, I know the board and the administration, they've done a great job. And I appreciate the hard work that they do, and I wanted to recognize them publicly. And it just kind of ties into what we've been saying about the charter schools and the charter system, the locally approved schools, locally approved systems, and then the state schools. And there's a lot of good work out there that I think we as a board need to do a better job of recognizing and making sure that people know charter is not for everyone, but it works. And as we try to give options to kids and parents, we need to make sure people understand that there are success stories. So I did want to give a shout out to ACE and the Griffins of ACE, and I wish them well, and I know they'll continue their successes.
All right. Mike, thank you.
And Kenneth, you hit something on really strong, and that's kind of what we've been talking about and what Chairman Sweeney and I talked about last night. My point, there's a difference in between communication and a seat at the table. You can communicate, and that's great, but a seat at the table and talking about it with this diocese full of our partners right here and sharing what we heard yesterday from the conversion charter and what the great work that's going on and having that. That's what I think we're missing, and the coronavirus has had an effect on that as well. There's a lot of reasons. No one's done anything purposely to try to hurt anybody, or is it? And I've had no one on this board is anti-charter. It's quite the opposite, and it's tough. It's been a heck of a year, and Chairman Sweeney and I, like I say, had a great discussion last night, and we're going to. We need to. Thanks, Kenneth.
All right, thank you, Mr. Roll, for your comments. Are there, on the charter matter, is there any other questions or comments? All right, now we are, this is part of the chair's report. We recognize Sally Lynn Neighbors earlier and thanked her for her service, but the next item is actually for the Governor's Honors Program update, and we'd love to hear from Mr. Donovan Head. Thank you, Mr. Donovan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and for all of you board members for having us today. I'm Donovan Head, the Deputy Director of the Governor's Office of Student Achievement, and I just wanted to introduce my colleagues. They'll be doing most of this presentation, but Trevor Kaysen, who's our Innovative Program Specialist, and then Jonathan Wesley Martin, who we're proud to have as a 2017 graduate of the Governor's Honors Program. Just a brief bit about it before I hand it over to them. We just wanted to thank you all for your support of the program, for your support of GOSA over the years. And we also want to work with you outside of this presentation to connect with some of your communities that you represent. We've had several counties in the state that do not nominate anybody, some for even decades, to the program, and there's obviously students in every school system that are deserving of the honor. We want to invite you to visit the program if we do it in person this summer or any summer that you'd like to attend. And we're going to talk about this a little bit, but the 2020 this year has been really the hardest year in the program's existence. It's a 57-year-old program, started in 1963. This is the first cancellation, and the timing at which we canceled it was we have thousands of nominations per year. We take about 1,500 of them for in-person interviews, and then from there, 660 are selected through that rigorous process as finalists to attend the program. We'd already selected the 660 students at the time we canceled, so this was really heartbreaking for them that they've gone 4 years through high school wanting to attend. But with that, I just want to hand it over. I think we've got a slideshow of just pictures to run while this is going on, but I'm going to hand it over to Trevor.
Hello and good morning to you all. How are you all doing today? My name is Trevor Case, and I work directly with the Governor's Honors Program, one of two administrators for the program, the other being our program manager, Richard Palmer, who is the only full-time staffing during the giving season. And while we're not asking anything of you all today, we do know that as you all meet with your families and contacts safely during this giving season, that there is a need at the Governor's Honors Program to support these 180 students. We don't have a day that goes by that we aren't reminded by parents, students, and coordinators across the state alike that we did not have the program and that so many students are looking forward to it. Today, while I know it's awesome to have administrators talk about a program on paper, we do have one of our 2017 alumni. This was the inaugural year of the program at Berry College, and Jonathan, if you can come up to talk about his experience with the program that 2017 summer, as well as his trajectory and where his career stands today. So if you'll allow, Jonathan.
Thank you, Trevor. So to start off, I'd like to thank the Governor's Office of Student Achievement and, of course, the Board of Education for allowing me the chance to speak today. My name is Jonathan Martin, as he mentioned, and I'm a third-year finance major at the University of Georgia. I'm a native Georgian, and I went through 13 years of public education in the state of Georgia, and now I attend a public state university in the state. One of the most important aspects of my educational career is one that doesn't necessarily show up when you look at those clean years, but within just a summer of that time within that career. The Governor's Honors Program is a program that obviously not everybody in the state is able to attend, but it's one that I would say is one of the most pivotal programs in my educational career that has also set me up for a professional career in terms of job opportunities. So the Georgia Governor's Honors Program is relatively unique, especially among their counterparts in other states. One thing that a lot of people don't know is that a lot of states do charge tuition, and they also charge room and board for their programs. The fact that the state of Georgia does not for the Governor's Honors Program is crucial to the success of the program. The other people who attend the program are one of the core aspects that make the program as great as it is. I know, especially for myself, if the program had a charge for tuition, room, or board, I would not have been able to attend. And that's something that I think is very unfortunate that people in other states aren't able to actually have that opportunity. Now, I'm put in an interesting position here because it's an experience that a lot of people say you can't convey to anybody else unless you've actually attended it, which there's a lot of truth to that, but obviously I'm attempting to convey that today. And one key term that we tend to use is something called the GHP magic. I remember hearing it when I first stepped foot on Berry College to actually attend the summer program, and I thought it was kind of cheesy. I thought it was kind of corny. I didn't know what this person was talking about. I didn't even know who was saying it. Well, it turns out to be an alumni who had attended the year before me, and little did I know, everything that they said ended up being very much so true, as I was able to convey when I was fortunate enough to give the closing speech at the program that I attended. So one of the things that's interesting about the program is that the connections that you form when you're actually attending it last long after you leave the campus after those 4 weeks. I didn't realize how important those connections were, not only for the friends that you make, because obviously you make a lot of friends at a program like this. I still keep in touch with many of them, but the professional connections as well. I didn't realize until I was actually into my recruitment process for jobs after college, where I realized that some of the people who had actually attended the program several decades before me had still felt the impacts of the program. As you can imagine, I was pretty encouraged to find out that one of the managing directors at Citigroup, and also the co-head of industrials there in their investment banking division, himself attended the Governor's Honors Program some 30 years before I had. Obviously, this was a strong connection to have, and I realized I wasn't the only person who had also shared the connections of having attended the University of Georgia and the Governor's Honors Program. And his willingness to work with me and understanding of the programs that I had gone through and what that meant for my professional career are things that was really easy to convey with somebody that shared that experience. Now, speaking more to my direct experiences with the program, one of the main things, particularly with the social studies area study, which I was able to attend under, is education through simulation. Now, the two main manifestations of this would be the Model UN programs and the mock Congress that we have. In fact, I enjoyed these programs so much that after having left, I ended up joining the International Model UN Association. And I noticed when I actually got there, several of the people who were older than me within this organization had also attended the Governor's Honors Program in Georgia. Georgia was one of the most well-represented states in terms of people within this international organization. I stayed with this organization. I continue to propose that similar programs continue not only at the state level, but also on local levels within high schools. I now am fortunate enough to serve as that organization's representative to the United Nations through their NGO status with the UN Department of Global Communications. Now, one thing that's relatively difficult to get across in terms of the actual programs that go on, the fact that the entire program is on the same campus and you're able to build those relationships with the other people within your major, it allows people to explore things that they might necessarily have thought of before. If you're in a typical classroom and you've always excelled in math, it's pretty easy to just continue to study math and think this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. But when you're they actually make you choose a minor, which could be in any field, but it can't be in something related to what you're already studying as your major. This allows people to go outside of their comfort zone and develop the soft skills necessary to talk with people who actually major in that subject area to see if that might be somewhere where they can combine the two interests together. Those soft skills are the things that are almost more important to me than the hard academic achievements that you actually have within the program. The fact that people are able to take these experiences together, the collaborative experiences, the research experiences, the public speaking experiences. Those are the things that allow them to excel when they go back to their home schools as leaders, when they end up going to the universities, and then when they end up starting their careers. These are the things that I encourage everybody to appreciate about the program, and it's something that just isn't feasible on a wider scale than it is, but the fact that we're able to provide it for people who are high achieving and dedicated to the work that they're actually studying is something that couldn't happen in any other format. Now, one of the core things that comes behind this is the fact that this can't happen without the partners. It can't happen without the educators who dedicate their summers to actually lead the program. It can't happen without the administrators who actually attend the program or the college students who serve as resident assistants for the live-in experience. And among these things, obviously, we've had a great partnership with Berry College. It's a great campus to host this. They've been more than accommodating, and there are more partnerships and potential partnerships within other organizations within the state that I think would be greatly beneficial for the program. Now, in order to give a little bit of a taste into the feelings leaving the program, I was actually, as I mentioned earlier, I was fortunate enough to give the speech that closed out the program. And one thing I would just like to mention is after the speech was over, closing convocation was done, and the program was officially ended, I don't think there was a dry eye in the room. We're talking about 600 people attending this program, an educational program. They dedicated their summers to attend an educational program, and there are tears being shed that it's ending. I think that says a lot for the actual program and the things that they take away from it. So I'd just like to leave you with the end of my speech from the closing convocation. As we pop the GHP bubble today and venture back out into the world, we are likely to see things somewhat differently. For many of us, this is the most geographically, politically, and racially and culturally diverse environments that we've ever been in, let alone been tossed into for 4 weeks to live. As we return to our friends, families, and daily lives, the one thing I urge you to hold on to is the broadened perspective you've gained in your time here at the Governor's Honors Program. If you never felt like the dumbest person in the room at some point, something is wrong. So, when you go back to being the hot shot you always were at your home schools, stay humbled by the experience that you had with everyone here at GHP. To change a heart, you change a mind. And to change a mind, you change one at a time. Let your daily conversations, debates, and discussions display the humbling traits you've earned here. To quote Mark Twain, as I know people appreciate quotes here, 20 years from now, you will be more disappointed by the things that you didn't do than by the ones you did do. So cast off the bow lines, sail away from the safe harbor, catch the trade winds in your sails, explore, dream, discover. Thank you.
Very much, Jonathan. Trevor or Donovan, are there any further comments that you'd like to make before maybe some members have some questions?
Trying to think. Not that I can think of it. Was there anything we missed?
No.
And Ricky may be on the line. I don't know if he had thought of anything.
No. But we can answer any questions.
Sure.
Does anybody have any questions for Donovan?
Do you have, for donations, is there a web page? Is it just Georgia Governor's Honors Program or
Sure,
under GOSA or?
So this is actually our first foray into private donations because of the year we're in. So I can certainly email that to you all, but it's actually through our the GOSA Foundation, the Innovation Fund Foundation, and it'll be a direct link. So, but we certainly appreciate any support that y'all can give or leads to people we can talk to for sure.
How much is it per
Talk to
student?
GFPE about, possibly finding some connection of
Yes, Paige
support?
has been a huge supporter. We've actually put her on the steering committee, and she's given us a lot of great ideas.
Okay.
We do have one other member of the steering committee. I wanted to recognize Ian Caraway, who's also a GHP alum in the governor's office, is helping us with that too. So.
All right, Donovan, I have a question, and you and I have spoken about this before, but I think for everybody else's benefit, can you address or talk about participation in the Governor's Honors Program from a geographic standpoint within the state of Georgia?
Yes, and I can certainly send that map to you all. There are about 12 counties that have not submitted anybody in the past 5 years. Most of those have been the past 10 years or more. We've got some that are over 20 years of not submitting. And what's going on is we don't have a active GHP coordinator in that county. And Trevor could speak to that more. I think a lot are in southwest Georgia, southeast Georgia. I would say between your district and Mike, your district, we're probably over half of our program, but we certainly need to serve the whole state. And it's a little heartbreaking to know that we've got students that are capable. I think the number we have was over 300,000 almost 300,000 of our 1.8 million kids in Georgia are eligible by, but we're getting maybe 3,000 or 4,000 or so, maybe up to 6,000 nominees per year. And so I can certainly, along with that information, send the map so you can see where these are. But if you know of an educator that would be good to put as the coordinator, we'd love to talk to them.
Any further questions? Or Trevor?
Well, specifically for us, when we think of the program, we know that there are GHP caliber students in every county and every district in the state of Georgia. So one of the things that we embarked on a few years ago was to directly meet with coordinators in Tifton, Rome, Savannah, and then Atlanta physically. We couldn't do that this past year, but physically, so that people could put a face to the name of the emails instead of simply inundating people with communication through email and phone calls. Secondly, we had a GHP fellowship of coordinators who were in districts who had not nominated students for at least 3 years. We brought them onto the campus so that they could see the students in action, so that they can see the instruction going on and the atmosphere of the instruction. And of those 6 coordinators, we had a majority of them submit nominees, and then about 3 of them actually got finalists in the 2020 program before it was canceled. So it was pretty successful.
Ms. Kenmore? Go ahead.
You said that program 2020 was canceled. Was there any interaction with the kids or any virtual going on? They couldn't physically be on campus.
We did allow for all the nomination area leads to provide any virtual learning, any reading materials that could be provided over the summer. For the individuals who are nominated as sophomores, those are the 180 that will be able to attend in 2021 summer program. For the seniors, there's nothing that could replace the program, but we did send them a care package, and we did speak to the governor, who was able to offer that at some point when it was safe, that they'd be able to have a sort of a day at the Capitol to share in their ability, their achievement as finalists. So.
I know a family that whose one of their children went through the Governor's Honors Program, and then another was actually in last year's cohort. And you can imagine the disappointment, because all that other sibling heard about was how wonderful the program was, how remarkable it was, and also had a chance to witness what it meant to her post-graduation, much like we heard from Jonathan. So anyway, thank you very much for your presentation. I think it's a really important program, and I hope that 2020, this next school year is a much better opportunity for the Governor's Honors Program. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you for having us.
Okay. And then Donovan actually recognized Ian Caraway. I also want to recognize, and I know people here know her, we have Joy Hawkins with the Governor's Office of Student Achievement, and Joy joined us as well. And she's joined us as we are wrapping up and concluding our meeting today. So that brings us to the last matter, which is other business. One of the things I want to bring up, and it's something that I did not bring up to the agenda, is the chair vote. Mr. Royal and I talked about this last night, and as far as the chair vote is concerned, it is supposed to be done at the last board meeting, but we have a board meeting coming up, so we don't have the chair vote on the agenda today, but we do have another board meeting coming up, and as a reminder, that's December 21st. So 21st at 2 p.m., so we go ahead and do the chair vote at that time. All right? Is there any other matters before the board that need to be discussed? Okay, with that, the chair will entertain a motion to adjourn. Ms. Kenmore?
I'm sorry. Okay, I don't know if everybody got the information about Dr. Gary McGibney and the award that he received. Let's see, I'm trying to open it up. That he received an award from the Georgia Parent Support Network. They gave him our very own, just exciting, Dr. Gary McGibney, the Georgia Association for Positive Behavior Support's Outstanding Leadership Award. And not only did they give him the award for outstanding leadership, going forward, they have named the award after him. So everybody who comes after him to receive this particular award will have a high standard to achieve to. I just wanted to recognize Dr. McGibney on that.
Thank you, Lisa.
All right.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you very much. And also as a point of privilege, today, unfortunately, Helen Rice was unable to join us for personal reasons, and I think I can speak on behalf of the board that everyone extends our thoughts, prayers, and best wishes to her and her family. With that, the chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I have a first from Ms. Kenmore. Is there a second? Second from Mr. Downey. All those in favor? Aye. Aye. We stand adjourned. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy Kwanzaa. Which ones am I missing? Hanukkah.
Merry holidays. Happy holidays. Mike Long, AKA Santa Claus.
Is now exit.